LEAP manifesto is something that I was part of building in Canada, and it's now been spreading around the world, Australia, and particularly in post-Trump U.S. Not that we're post-Trump, but we're trying to get there. But it came actually out of realizing we were in the middle of an election campaign a couple of years ago, and there was a lot of momentum towards getting rid of a right-wing government, the government of Stephen Harper, that had been in power for 9 years. But all of the parties that had a chance of winning that election, whether it was our centrist Liberal Party or our third party, the New Democratic Party, who are social democrats, they had policies on the table that we felt, particularly on climate change, but also on indigenous rights and economic inequality, were really inadequate, that didn't meet the moment. So we helped convene a gathering of 60 movement leaders from labor, climate, food justice, indigenous rights, migrant rights, and we hosted this 2-day meeting where we tried to dream together, really. We realized that this was the first time that our movements had come together in a space that was not a space of no, a space of opposition. So we had all been part of coalitions, for instance, against a free trade agreement that we didn't like, or a terrible austerity bill, something like that. But the task we assigned for ourselves was actually finding our common ground for the world, to map the world after we win. And it was some of the most difficult work I've ever done. You had people coming into that space with a lot of very difficult history. So you had a union leader representing workers in the Alberta tar sands, oil workers coming face to face with an very respected indigenous leader who is opposing a pipeline coming through his territory where some of those workers would get jobs. And I think because it wasn't a public gathering, there were some of the most honest exchanges I've ever seen. It wasn't panels. It was actually, we kept it to a size where people could be face to face and could exchange. And we tried to come up with these common themes. And we realized actually just how rusty we are when it comes to thinking about what the world feels like, looks like, what the experience of life is after we win. And so we had a great moderator who sort of walked us through this process where we imagined what our cities would feel like, how it would address the epidemic of despair and isolation, disconnection, found connections between what advocates working on homelessness and joblessness were experiencing in terms of this economic model that sort of just took to the breaking point from workers' bodies, from the social safety net, and finding common ground between that and our relationship to the planet itself, which is fundamentally extractive. So one of the really common things that came out was that we have this economic system that is based on taking without limit, taking as if there's no consequence. And it is pushing people to the breaking point, and it is pushing the planet to the breaking point. And that when we talked about the world that we wanted instead, it was really about this culture of caretaking, where we take, but we also take care. And so a lot of what we came up with had to do with lifting up the professions, the work of caretaking, of land protection. And I'm struck by this idea of protection, right? Because I think there's two different kinds of protection. There's this passive, very patriarchal model of protection. I will protect you, passive person. I am your protector, and it's also kind of a military model of protection. But then there's this other model of protection that's much more active, it was one of the really amazing things that has happened in North America in the past couple of years is this uprising in Standing Rock, North Dakota, against the Dakota Access Pipeline, led by indigenous people who have said from day one, we are not protesters, we're water protectors. And it was this paradigm shift where they forced the media to refer to them as protectors, right? And then you had veterans.
So from protesters to protectors.
Yeah,
so it's
protectors
framing
of
the
water.
new language.
Yes.
It's making sure that people refer to you with the language that you've chosen for yourself as well.
And there was something so resonant about that word that people got instantly, and also so people and it was women-led, protectors of the water, protectors of the land, protectors of the air, but protectors of the systems that protect us. So it's a reciprocal system of protection, right? And a very active system of protection, which everybody is invited into. And then layered on top of that, there was this moment where thousands of veterans, of soldiers, former soldiers, came to protect the protectors when they were facing massive repression. So I think this idea of everybody stepping up in this role of protector with humility and understanding that we're actually protecting the systems that protect us in this cycle of protection, I think is very rich as a potential paradigm shift.